Hello everyone. Uh, in the previous video, we saw that to critically evaluate a company, to find its intrinsic value, we need to do valuation. And for that valuation, we need to do EIC analysis, which is economic, industry, and company analysis. In this video, we're going to see what are the tools we require for financial modeling. Now, let me just tell you what is the entire thing we are doing. We're going to give some inputs to a process. So there's going to be a process after this. And by using those inputs in the process, you're going to get some output. Like in manufacturing, you give raw material as your inputs, you do some processing on those raw materials, you use machineries, you use labor, and post that you get your final output. Same way over here, we're going to give some inputs. We're going to work on those inputs, and from that, we're going to come to output. When I say output, output is nothing but the valuation, the final result of doing all this. So, what is the input for this? The input is going to be the financial information which we are going to give to the process. In this process, you're going to work on this financial information. You're going to elaborate this financial information, dig deep into it, and try to see what is the true worth of that company. Now, when we say that input is going to be financial information, the main important part is from where will I get that information, or from where will I get the data for it, the source of data. You might have heard that if your input is good, your output will also be good. If your input is bad, ultimately the output is also going to be very bad. So in that sense, we need to be very clear from where are we going to use the data for the process to come to the output. Now, I want financial information of a company. Here, when I say company, I mean to say listed companies. Listed companies means companies which are getting traded on stock exchanges, whether it is BSE or NSE. Now, there are approximately 4,000, 5,000 companies which are listed on BSE and approximately similar number on NSE also. You will get financial information for all these companies on their websites. If you talk about private companies, you will not get the information because it is not publicly available. These are public companies, hence their information is also available publicly, whereas private companies information you will not get. So in this entire journey, we will be focusing on only the listed companies or the companies whose data is available publicly. So what are we going to do? We're going to go to the website of those companies. On their website, you will see there is a tab of investor relations. Generally, on all these companies, you will find a tab of investor relations. If you go into that tab, you will see various reports which are uploaded by the company. From that, the most primary source will be annual report. So, what are we going to use for company data? We're going to use the annual report of the companies. Where will you get it? From the website of all the companies under the heading of investor relations. Of course, this word investor relations might be different on some websites. Only somebody might be writing only investors. We need to search from the tabs available from where I can get the annual report of any company. This is the first and the foremost document which is going to be used in our entire process. What else? So, in annual report, you will get company data, but what about the data for the economy? What about the data for industry? From where will you get that? For that, you have to use only authentic sources. When I say authentic sources, that means the data should come from either any government body or RBI or government itself. Because if you are referring to any data from any private person, the authenticity of that data cannot be evaluated, and we cannot process our data if it is not authentic. So you should be using only authentic sources, that is any kind of data coming from government or from RBI or from SEBI or from any other government body that can be used for your processing. You can refer to some periodicals, newspapers, journals. Generally, you will see for industry analysis, there are industry journals. You can refer to them, no doubt about it. You can refer to newspapers, but there is always subjectivity when you are referring to things. There can be a biased opinion in newspapers or in journals. So while we are referring to that data, how much importance is to be given to those parameters, to those statements written in those newspapers and journals is our call. Also, sometimes you might be hearing about press releases. We need to keep a watch on those. So if a company is doing any press release, quarterly statements, we can even refer to these also. But again, quarterly statements are not audited. Nobody has checked those statements. So how much reliance, how much trust we have to give on those statements is again a question. Again, press releases, you can keep it as one of the parameter, but how much importance is to be given to all this is purely your call. So most important are the first two documents, that is annual report and any other information coming from any authentic source. You can use Bloomberg. In that case, that is a paid software or a paid application that becomes too costly. Hence, generally, we refer to the annual report and any freely available document coming from authentic sources. Other sources can be referred, but how much you believe on those sources is a matter of question. So these are the foremost tools. Of course, you need data. So you will get data from annual report. You will get data from authentic sources. This data you will be using, or you will be transferring this data on a spreadsheet or Excel, and you will be doing some process on that to come to your valuation. Now, let us go to the step one. By using these tools, let us freeze step one now itself. Step one is you need to select a company. You need to select a company, a listed company whose working you are going to go throughout. This is an important thing because how you are going to select a company on a very initial stage, select a company which has less deviations. Like, don't go for Reliance in a very initial stage because Reliance has footfall in many economies. They are there into many industries. You will have a tough time valuing Reliance in a very initial stage. So when you are selecting a company which has less number of segments and which is operating in two or three economies would be better to get a fair idea how to do the valuation. Later on, you can expand it to the bigger companies also. So go through few annual reports of companies you want to value. Check what are the various segments they are working in. check in how many countries they are operating, and then you might come to a conclusion whether the company you want to take is this or that. I am going to do it for Asian Paints. You might select any other company also. If you want to select the same company, we can work together. Okay. So complete your step one at the end of this session. Select a company. When you're selecting, go through their annual reports, check it for last 2, 3, 4 years at least, and see in how many segments they are working, see in how many economies they are working, and then select a company which has less number of economies and less number of segments so that you will understand it more clear. We'll meet in the next video with the further steps. Thank you.